Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. My name is Brett Early and you're listening to the Sports Roundup Show here on the podcast. It's episode 220 of the show. Now today's show is brought to you in association with the local enterprise office here in Leitrim, and you can find out more information about their online trading voucher on localenterprise.ie/Leitrim. Now here at Leitrim Daily we are helping some small and medium-sized businesses around the county to develop those projects to get themselves into the 21st century and trading online. And if you want more information on that, as well as contacting the local enterprise office, we would be more than happy to help you through that process and help you develop that website or whatever it is that you want to get yourself into the modern age with the technology in your business. You can get in touch with us, info@leitrimdaily.com, or hit us up on any of our social medias at Leitrim Daily. We'd be more than happy to help you and to maybe guide you through that process. Now, that's enough about that. On to our sport. There was a very small range of sports across the county this week. The focus mainly on Gaelic games, but there was one small matter of a national final at the National Athletics Championships over the weekend. Gerard O'Donnell of Carrick and Shannon Athletic Club was in action in the 110 metre hurdles final. He was the defending champion. In fact, he had won it for each of the last 3 years, and he did go ahead a fantastic run in a time of 13:96 to get his fourth in a row title, but his fifth overall in that 110 metres hurdles, and he's really made that event his own over the last few years. We will be talking to Gerard later in the programme. We'll be hearing all about the event, but also we'll be checking in on his career, how the year has been for him so far, how has it been for everybody, but Gerard's going to tell you in his own words, and also we'll also hear about what he has planned for the next 12 months, and maybe with one eye towards 5 rings next year, and see if that's a realistic target for Gerard. Not to put any pressure on him, but he's well used to dealing with pressure, and we'll hear from him later in the show. Now, in terms of Gaelic games, let's take a quick look through the results of the Senior and Intermediate Football Championship games of the weekend. And it was, of course, the quarter-final weekend in both competitions. And also, there was the small matter of the relegation and promotion playoffs as to which teams will be dropping out of both grades of football over the weekend. So we'll get through all those results now. In the Connacht Gold Senior Football Championship on Saturday, Mohill defeated Allen Gaels 3-16 to 2 goals and 8 points, while Fenagh St joined them in the semi-finals 2-14 to 1-8. They were drawn together in the draw later on Sunday afternoon. On Sunday afternoon, in the other two quarter-finals, Sean O'Heslins won 6, Glencar Manor Hamilton 12 points, and Melvin Gaels 12 points, St Mary's Kiltahard 2-15, and those two sides paired up in the semi-finals of the championship. So the semi-final draw of the championships, Glencar Manor Hamilton versus St Mary's, and Fenagh St Collins versus Mohill in the last 4 of that competition, those games to be played in 2 weeks' time. The final game, of course, was the relegation playoff between Aughawillan and their neighbours Drumriley, and it was Aughawillan who won that game 2-19 to 1-4. A very one-sided game there, and Drumriley finally drop out of the top flight. They've managed to battle their way to survival in that grade for many, many years, and unfortunately for the Drumriley men, they'll see themselves drop out. They've had a tough year this year in terms of availability and injuries and an ageing squad. They won't thank me for that, but it's just the reality of it. Life for a lot of clubs in that grade, and Drumriley will be in the Intermediate Championship next year, but a chance for them to regroup. Aughawillan, of course, they get to play another season at Senior Championship level, and they'll be looking for a better run out next year than they managed this year. In terms of the Intermediate Championship, again, 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. In the quarter-final stages of the competition, Carrigallen won 8, Drumkieran 10 points, a somewhat surprising result there. Drumkieran well fancied coming into that game, but Carrigallen not having it at all. 1 point victory for them there, 1-8 to 10 points. While in the other quarter-final played on Saturday, Gortletra 5-15, Aucknasheelan 2-6. A very solid victory for Gortletra there, and they're looking good in that championship, but they await a semi-final draw with the victors of the first game played on Sunday morning, and that was between Drumahare and Ballinamore, and Drumahare won that game 2-20 to 1-7. A very comfortable victory in the end for Drumahare. They play Gortletra in the semi-final, while Bornacoola had a blistering start, but unfortunately were beaten by 2 points. Anaduff 15 points, Bornacoola 2-7. And Anna Duff will now go on and play Carrick in the semi-final of the Intermediate Championship. The relegation playoff, Esslin and Kiltubbard clashed. Both sides had struggled this season, and it was Kiltubbard who edged them out by 4 points, 114 to 110. A victory there for Kiltubbard. They retain their intermediate status for next year. Esslin, the junior kingpins in the county, see themselves drop out of the intermediate football, and they will contest the junior championship next year. Now, plenty of local action from the Gaelic pitches across the county to bring you, and plenty of different voices across all of the games from the weekend. But first, we're going to start with Gerard O'Donnell. Another string to his bow as he added his 5th senior 110 metre hurdles title to his CV, and it's some CV that he's building for himself on the athletics track. Congratulations to Gerard O'Donnell. Here's the chat I had with him earlier today. Now, we'd like to welcome a new voice to the podcast. We've been around a year and we've been chasing him for a while, but he's a hard man to catch hold of, as the rest of the field found in the final of the National Championships in the 110 metre hurdles yesterday afternoon. In terms of his result, it's his 5th national title, his 4th in a row. Gerard O'Donnell, you're very, very welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Bethany.
Gerard, let's talk about yesterday's race first of all, because I watched it back on Twitter afterwards. It was a fantastic start, and then you just pulled away from the field, and it really was a case of men against boys in terms of the gap between you and the rest of the field. It's taken you a while to get to this level in athletics, but you really seem to be the dominant force in that 110 metre field at the moment.
Yeah, no, I was happy out to get a win yesterday. Any national title is always a special one, and to win 4 in a row was something I never would have dreamed of. And like you said, it's taken me a while to get to that level. My first national medal didn't come around till I was 26, and now I have 7 national titles overall between indoors and out. If you had given me that 10 years ago, I would have been in disbelief. So, no, it was a great one to get. And like you said, I got out pretty well, and then once I got into my running, I just had to try and keep a smooth race, and I knew I'd be comfortable. But with lockdown and everything that was going on this year, you never really knew what sort of shape you're in. So I'm glad I got out a good time as well.
I suppose we've heard a lot about the impact of COVID and the lockdown on team sports in this neck of the woods. It's really all about Gaelic football, and we've talked a bit about soccer as well on the show. But athletics is very much an isolation sport. You're on your own. It's you and the track against other individuals. How has COVID affected you and your compatriots, I suppose, in terms of the athletics world?
Yeah, so I train in quite a big group in Dublin. There's about maybe 15 or close to 20 in the winter, and myself and Jeremy Lyons and Aideen Sinnott do work as kind of a coaching trio in that group as well. But once lockdown hit, most of our athletes are students, so they were dispersed all over the country, and I was the same. I was back down in Carrick for something like 8 to 10 weeks. So it became a very, very individualised then. Even though we're all training for our individual goals normally, we used to have some sort of a team ethos and team spirit around training, and a bit of crack that you'd expect from a gang of people working towards similar goals together. But lockdown was a different story. It was kind of weekly or twice weekly Zoom meetings and calls to try and keep people on track and see how people were getting on, and then trying to figure out what facilities people actually had access to. So whether it was grass or road, or some people had kind of cinder tracks that were open, and gym equipment, again, another factor to think about. So for myself, it was the tarmac around Carrick. It was a couple of the abandoned industrial estates from the Celtic Tiger, and it served me well for a while. You can run fast on tarmac, but when you're not getting into spikes often enough, and there's not even really a decent patch of grass, especially at that time of year around Carrick, to do training in, it put a big impact on my body. So my calves really started to suffer. I had to kind of cut a couple of sessions out each week, or definitely one session a week had to be cut out with running wise, and I had to kind of really focus on getting good strength work and gym work done. I spent a couple of £100 trying to get gym equipment, because it was all being snapped up as well online. So got what I could there to keep myself going, but it was certainly a big challenge. And for the guts of 3 months, it was really kind of do what you can to maintain some of what you've worked hard for over the winter months, and try and bring that through and keep yourself convinced that there'll be light at the end of the tunnel with some sort of a summer season. But it looked ropey enough for a while, and obviously I'm sure everyone in my training group and everyone the same in every sport was thinking at some stage that things don't look good. But I think everyone kind of helped each other along, kept each other motivated in some sense when things were looking dark. But thankfully we got to this stage, and I got back up to Dublin then pretty mid-June, I think it was, and got back on the track in Santry, and they obviously it was very restricted as well, so everyone had to be kept at limited numbers and things like that. But just to have a coach keeping an eye on you for a session was a huge help again, and getting back onto the surfaces that we're used to and back into spikes was a huge bonus.
It makes it sound that it's very difficult to keep that motivation level high when you're used to that group environment. Even though it's an individual sport, there is that group environment that you spoke about, and all of a sudden you find yourself in, let's be honest, for this stage of your life, unfamiliar circumstances. You probably haven't lived at home for that period of time since you left school over a decade ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I haven't been back in Carrick for 3 months since I was 18. Is right. So like, once I went to college and moved to Dublin almost 7 years ago now. So it was it was obviously nice to be back down home with Mum and the dog, and the three of us were getting on well and all that. But you're still so in such a unfamiliar environment once again, as you said. And then like John Connolly obviously has his training group there in Carrick, but and they do great work with the facilities around, and we all did when we were youngsters. But even with that, we couldn't even meet up to do sessions because it was strictly limited to one person only. It wasn't until kind of the last month that I was home we could meet up in 3s and 4s. So even though you're home with familiar people, you can't even go back to any sort of normality. So it was a challenge, and in terms of the motivation, I was obviously flagging the motivation as everyone was as well. So I was trying to keep the lads that I'm coaching motivated as well. So that helped me to keep on the straight and narrow, because you kind of have to not even keep up appearances that I was training to keep them training. So that was a help as well. But it was certainly definitely challenging for everyone involved. And
of course, then around Carrick and Shannon, there's a hub of athletics coming up through. I know you've come through and you've reached the level you're at. Aina Madden is also a member of Carrick Athletic Club, and Lana McGuinness has come up and had some strong performances over the last couple of years. There's plenty of others too coming through. I know there's a few gone on scholarship to the States. How big is the sport of athletics in Leitrim at the moment? Because it's kind of one of those hidden things. You don't really see it except for maybe the dozens of people out at training sessions on the Castlecar Road here beside us in the Hive.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably one of the most successful sports clubs in the county over the last couple of years. I mean, I think between 2018 and 2019 we had 5 international athletes, myself and Aina and Michelle Lannon, Clive Glancy and Alana McGuinness. Like, for a town as small as we are, and a club with we don't even have a clubhouse or a base to call the athletics home in the town. I think it's an incredible achievement. And then, like you said, obviously myself and Aina have been competing internationally and winning medals at national level and titles in the last few years. And Alana coming up really strongly, going to European Championships with the junior relay team. And then, like last weekend, Alana and Toyosi Fagbo raced in the 100 metres here in Santry. They didn't get the performances they wanted because they had a gale force wind blowing down their necks. But they're coming up against senior international athletes like Phil Healy, Marcus Lawler up against them in the lanes beside them. So fantastic experience for them, and it's the kind of thing that goes unnoticed, I suppose, down home a little bit. But they won't be too worried about that. Like, we're all in an individual sport for a reason. It's to beat the clock and beat our own previous best. So they'll be happy enough with the challenges they've set for themselves. But no, definitely the club in Carrick, I think it's just going from strength to strength, and there's a lot of people coming back in to do a bit more coaching now that were there previously, like Siobhan Murta and people like that who were fantastic athletes when they were younger, and now they're back in to give back to the sport. And obviously the more bodies we have, the better, especially these days when groups have to be restricted. But once things opened up and allowed a bit of trend to go back, they were all biting at the bit to get back at it, and it was great to see groups back out training there back in June and July and onwards.
Of course, as well, you mentioned times, and it is a very much a case of you versus the clock more so than you around you. In terms of the weekend, I saw an interview after the game, after the race yesterday, where you said you were aiming for about 14.2, but you actually went sub 14. You must be delighted with the actual performance, never mind the result in the short race yesterday. Yeah,
definitely, because I got into good shape for the indoors, even though I hadn't really planned an indoor season, and my coach Jeremy kind of twisted my arm to say, there's a national championship on, you're in good shape, jump in. So thankfully I did, and I won the national indoors with 2 good times as well. So I was trying to hope and, like I said, carry as much of that form as I could into the summer. But with everything that went on, it was very hard to know what sort of shape I was in. But once I got back up to Dublin, I got back into good flat shape, so shape without the hurdles, and my sprint speed was really good. And I was kind of trying not to overdo it in the hurdles. leading up to the Nationals, because I pick up a few injuries when I do start to hurdle very aggressively. So I was kind of hoping that, like I said, 14-2 would be a solid time to win. I knew it would be enough because the guys that were in it haven't run that fast before. So I was like, if I can do that and they don't have a super day and they don't run PBs, I should get the title. And that was kind of obviously the main focus of the championship, is get across the line first. When I saw the clock, it stopped at 13.99 and it was corrected to 13.96. I was obviously ecstatic with that. That's my fourth fastest time ever, and it's the fastest time I've run at national championships with a legal win behind me. So it was obviously a great boost, and it's very encouraging for whatever we have to come next year. Hopefully it'll be a bit more structured than it was this year, but it's nice, encouraging signs to go back into a little bit of a break now and then into winter training again.
You mentioned next year, and of course people's idea when they hear athletics, if they're not from an athletics background or understand how it works on a week-to-week basis, when they think athletics they think Olympics. And of course the Tokyo Olympics moved from this summer, where it would have been happening around about now, to next year. Where are you on the totem pole of national champion to Olympic competitor? Where is the gap, and where are you in that gap?
I think at the minute, after the weekend, I'm around 70th in the world at the minute with that time. Now, obviously, this hasn't been a full and proper season, so there'll be athletes missing off that list as well. But I think based off my race yesterday, my coach was kind of breaking it down that because we haven't got a huge amount of hurdle work done, my actual second half of the race wasn't as good as it normally is, even though that's normally where I do most of my damage. So my first half was actually really good, and if I put a second half onto it like I normally did with some decent training focused on that area, I'd be pushing down towards the top 50 in the world this year. So, there's a different system for qualification next year as well for Tokyo as was for this year, but it's kind of a combined point system. So basically, if you run a super quick time, which would be, it'd have to be quicker than the Irish national record, you automatically qualify. But most of the qualifiers will come off points-based system, so it's basically running fast in high-level races, and you get a certain amount of points. So I think that'll favour me as well. And look, at the Olympics is a very lofty goal, I suppose, for most athletes, and myself included in that list. But with the new kind of world ranking system, at least I can say at the end of next year that I was top 70 or top 60 in the world, or whatever that is, and it'll have a quantifiable number to be able to say I was only 20 places off the Olympics.
It's one of those things that I think maybe locally here in Leitrim we don't appreciate what you've just said. Top 60 or 70 in the world is a huge achievement, and I think sometimes we underplay that because you're not on the podium at the Olympics. Asher, he wasn't any good, and I think that's unfair on these kind of sports, is it's all ranked off what we see on the television, what we read on the internet or in newspapers. And I think for someone from this county to be at that level where you have a number in the world is impressive. For it to be just 2 digits is even more so. So Gerard O'Donnell, 5-time outdoor national champion, 4 in a row. Congratulations on a fantastic result yesterday. Thanks for joining us today. We hope it won't take us long to have you back on the show again. And the best luck to you and to everyone involved in Leitrim Athletics.
Thanks very much, Bethany.
Now, of course, Gaelic games dominated the weekend, so we're going to start in chronological order through the senior championship games over the weekend. On Saturday afternoon, Allen Gaels and Mohill clashed. This game probably billed as the most one-sided game given the form coming into the competition. Allen Gaels secured their passage to the quarterfinals in the last round of games, while Mohill were in fine form from very early on in the competition and topped their particular group. The game kind of went to plan. Allen Gaels really rallied well in the second half, particularly in the third quarter. And after the game, I caught up with Allen Gaels player Colin Moran, as well as from the Mohill side, their manager Liam Keenan and Keith Keegan. Liam Keenan, mission accomplished, semi-final place secured. You must be happy with that.
Yeah, delighted, Breffney, to be honest with you. Delighted to be in the semi-final. We came here today, that was the target, and happy to be there now, yeah.
In terms of the performance, talk us through kind of how the game developed in your own head there.
Well, I suppose our first half performance was very, very good. We left a couple of scores behind us early on, but then we found our groove and we moved the ball very, very well, and we took some great scores, and at half time we had a commanding lead and we were in a great position.
Any concern with the way the third quarter panned out? 2 goals there for Allen Gaels, a couple of vulnerabilities maybe at the back? At half time, when it's rare you can find yourselves in a situation like that in a quarter final that you have such a lead. But we say the right things, keep going, keep
keep playing the same, but sometimes lads' heads can drift a small bit. But you have to give credit to Allen Gaels. They kept going, and I suppose any team you're training, as long as they keep going right to the end, that's all you expect from any team. So you have to give them credit, but also we probably flattened a small bit. You could be a little bit disappointed, but overall delighted to get through.
In terms of the final quarter, then you found that extra gear and you moved it back into championship kind of form towards the end. You never really looked like losing that game from the first couple of minutes really into it.
No, I suppose look at it. I suppose as you come here, we were strong favourites maybe to win the game, and that can have its own problems too with teams. You know, you like your team to be focused when you're coming into a game, focus on the job at hand. But we've got good experience out there that when the chips are down or we need a score, we're able to generate one of those, and we've got plenty of lads that can step up to the mark, thankfully.
Semi-final draw later after the other quarter-finals are played. Anyone you'd like to avoid maybe before a final appearance potentially in the future?
Look, I think any team you get now that comes through, there's some tough games on this weekend, and any team that comes through is going to be a formidable opponent. There's several teams going fairly well, so it'll be interesting, and look forward to the games over the weekend and look forward to the draw Sunday evening.
So well done today, and the best luck in the draw and in the subsequent rounds.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Keith Keegan, thoughts after that?
Look, it's always great to get the win, and you know, in the second half there was a bit of a battle. Now they came back fairly good. We took the pedal off a wee bit, but look, we came out with the win anyways, and happy out. We're into the semi-final now, and we'll dig in there and batter on a bit more now, and hopefully get down to into the final now after this.
It's been a long campaign, although it's been squeezed into the last maybe 6 or 7 weeks. What's it like being at this stage so early, really, since the first game?
It is fairly weird, like, you know, you'd be going into like rain and wind and that, but coming out here playing in the sunshine, sure, there's nothing different about it, you know. It's actually nearly better, you know.
You'd rather play with no fans in this less distraction?
Oh, well, no, obviously, of course, you'd miss the fans, the roars and the shouting, and you know, the atmosphere, the whole lot, like, but look, they can't be here, so we'll have to dig in and win it for them, you know, and bring it home.
In terms of that performance, you came out like a freight train at the very start. You built up a really strong, maybe 13-point lead at one stage. What was going through the mind when Drumshanbo, when Allen Gaels got those 2 quick fire goals?
Nothing much. We didn't really panic now, you know. They were lucky enough they earned one of them anyways, but you can't really panic on the ball, or you can't panic when they get a goal, you know. You have to get your next kick out or whatever about that, but it's next ball, that's how you work it. If you panic, they get a point, then you know you're kind of in the slums then, but no, get the ball and get out of it. Didn't really bother us, I don't think much.
You topped your group, fairly comfortable victory in the end today. That you're pretty much installed as the championship favourites. Will that tag sit heavy with you, or are you happy enough to take that on your shoulders?
Well, look, sure, we'll take it on the shoulders, I suppose, and we'll carry it, but I don't think we ever really went into a county final with as our favourites, but no, we'll take it on our stride, and look, we won't think about it that way either, because every team has a chance of winning it, you know. Ballinamore, Manor, like even Fenagh and Leitrim Gaels are like, anyone can win it at this stage, you know. When you're going into a semi-final, it's all up in the air. Once the ball's thrown up, it's anyone's game.
Is there anyone you'd like to avoid in the semi-final? I know you don't know who's there with you just yet, but when the draw is tomorrow night, is there anyone you'd like to avoid, maybe push them back around?
Well, I suppose Ballinamore, that are always on our backs, and that Manor as well. Look at all the teams really, like, you know, Leitrim Village, and you have Fenagh as well. Fenagh with their full forward line, and that you'd be weary enough of them. You'd be scared of most of them, but I'd say Ballinamore mainly, I suppose.
Listen, well done today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Colin, Moran, your thoughts after that game?
Obviously bitterly disappointed. We fell asleep there for the first probably 25 minutes, and they put in 3 goals against us, and that was probably the win of the game for them. I mean, Mohill are a very good team, some top class players, and just very disappointed with the defeat.
In terms of the performance though, particularly in the second half, because it looked like they were going to probably bury you. That didn't happen. You really rallied in that second half, and although it mightn't reflect on the scoreline 100%, you really put it up to them, particularly in that third quarter.
Yeah, we kicked I think 2 goals, and defending improved and everything. We just picked it up. We just said at the water break there, just at half time, that just play for pride sort of thing, play for the jersey, try and get 2 goals, a few scores on the board, and I think we did that, so we can be proud about that, I suppose.
In terms of the season now, I know it's very quick after the end of it to talk about what's you've achieved this season, but there weren't too many pundits looking at Allen Gaels as title challengers, possibly relegation favourites. You kind of put that to bed. You're secured a quarter-final spot. It mightn't have gone the way you wanted to, but it does mean the club's senior next year again, and an opportunity for the likes of yourself, it's only your second season in senior football, to get that extra bit of experience playing teams with championship calibre like Mull.
Yeah, that was something we focused on, was keeping senior status. Every team is improving now. I think the quality of Leitrim football has improved so much, so there's so many good teams, and it is hard to say in senior. You know, there's as I said, so many good players, so many good teams about. But yeah, we've a lot of good players coming up next year, and yeah, just looking forward to the future in Allen Gaels.
In terms of the experience here today, no fans, very, very muted. In terms of a couple of shouts in from the sideline from the subs or the management, you can hear every word that's said. How different is that on a championship Sunday?
Yeah, it was very eerie coming in here, very quiet. Like you need the old lads in the stand shouting and roaring at you to keep you going, sort of thing. But look, that's the circumstances you have to play under. But obviously you want to be playing in front of loads of people here in Park Sean. But yeah, you just have to do that, you know.
Okay, well, listen, well done today, and a good performance despite the result.
Thanks very much, Rafi.
Later on Saturday evening, Leitrim Gaels and Fenagh St renewed their rivalries in the Senior Football Championship. It was the first ever time at the quarter-final stage for the Leitrim Village side, and they unfortunately ended their campaign with a defeat to Fenagh. After the game, I spoke to Riordan O'Rourke and Joe Flynn from Fenagh, as well as Brendan Flynn and his manager, Mal Guckian. Mal Guckian, your thoughts after that game?
I were bitterly disappointed to go out the way we did in the end, Breffney. Like, it was a good, kind of entertaining game all the way through, but like in the final 7 or 8 minutes now, Fenagh were well on top, you know. There was chances that we could have taken, like, you know, there was 2 goal chances there probably in the last 20 minutes, and on the other side, like, Fenagh created probably 3 goal chances, and in fairness to Benny, he pulled off 2-3 great saves, like, you know, which kept us in the game. But the last 7 to 8 minutes, Fenagh were well on top.
In terms of the game, how does this fare in terms of your expectations of coming in? Because you knew Fenagh were going to be strong, particularly their forward segment. They've just got pace everywhere.
Yeah, God, Fenagh, like in the other group, Fenagh were going very strong all the way through. With ourselves, we were just concentrating on our own game and our own plan, you know. Today it came together in parts, but it didn't fully get elemented, like, you know. So it was just one of those days.
You've taken this team from a Division 2 league side, intermediate championship side, to one of the competitors at championship level here, at senior level in both league and championship. You must be happy looking back on those 4 years, although you probably haven't had a chance to give it a thought to it recently anyway.
Listen, I'd enjoyed the 4 years with the lads. They've always given everything. They've worked great, and like, you know, the community around the village and the whole lot, like, you know, support has always been great, and what's upcoming as well with the youth. So there's, like, you know, there's a good future there. I know the lads are young enough a team, and I'm sure they'll bounce back and come stronger from every year.
Any thoughts on your own involvement next year? We see you back, because it's taken Fenagh those 2 or 3 years at senior level to really get to this competitive stage. Can you see yourself back on that sideline again next year and pushing them on maybe that step further again next year?
As it says, all the week was just concentrating on this, like, you know, as Fenagh did, or any team that was in the quarterfinals today, everybody had a goal at the end of it, and that was trying to get to the semi-finals. So all the concentration and all the work rate went into that. So there's no much brain power left for else to decide yet, Breffney.
In terms of the rest of the weekend and I suppose the rest of the summer, you would have had plans, you would have had hopes to be involved in football. What are you going to do with yourself for the next couple of weeks?
Well, I have girls at home, so I'm sure they'll have everything planned out for me, because I'm in the bad books for the last couple of months anyway.
Listen, hard luck today, but congratulations on the last few years and the kind of the journey you've been on with Leitrim Gaels. It's been great, I suppose, as a local to watch it, and I know it's given a whole region, as every club does to their region. So thank you very much for that, and congratulations.
Thanks for all your support.
Benny Flynn, thoughts after that?
Geez, not great. What to call it? That was not an easy one to take, but look, overall it's probably a grand year. We probably would have. I don't know. I honestly don't know. We're out now, so I thought we were in that game a bit longer than, what was it? 6 points, 7 points in the end. I don't think that's
true reflection, maybe the last 10 minutes or whatever, but look, that's what it is.
It's 9 points actually in the end, but in terms of, I suppose, the last penalty and the last kick of the game nearly settled it in terms of that. The score doesn't reflect the game, but do you feel maybe the best side didn't perform on the day, or how did that work?
Jeez, no, I definitely think the better team won. Our whole meeting there, we know we didn't show up today, and we've no one else to blame by ourselves. We were waiting for the first half things to happen. I thought the only bits of play we played well was because when we went down to 14 in the first half, I thought that's where we played our best football today. And then I just think lads maybe didn't perform. Look, a lot of things have happened this year. I don't know, it's probably the first game we didn't perform well in, say, the second quarter or third quarter, whereas other games we were blitzing them quarters in every game. So I just don't think maybe our luck ran out today, or maybe they just knew exactly what we were going to bring. The matches up perfectly. I don't know.
In terms of your own personal performance, some fantastic one-on-one saves there, maybe where you had no right to keep the ball out of the net, kept the team in the side, kept the team in the game a little bit longer maybe than they might have done.
I think that's irrelevant, to be quite honest with you. They look after me, I look after them whenever I can. Look, it could have been worse. We had goal chances, they had goal chances. Their keeper probably made saves as well, so I don't know, there's probably a bit of luck in that. They got question marks over the penalty a little bit maybe. I thought there was a free out before that. Then, bar that, I think the first goal they got, they just came down straight through the middle, so I don't think that was great from our behalf. After that, I think we definitely had chances. We had wides, we'd missed goal chances, everything, so I don't know, maybe a bit more clinical than we were.
In terms of your own situation now, obviously county season may or may not happen in the next few weeks. What's your own thoughts on your own preparation for the next few weeks and months ahead?
Being brutally honest, my mind isn't. We haven't heard too much, so I just have to put, maybe the club is over now, so maybe put myself first, start working on work, because there's a lot of time off, getting time off for work. It's not easy. It's busy up in Dublin, so like football takes up a lot of your life, so we'll see what happens. Maybe there's more important things than football out there with what's going on as well. So, but just focus. Whatever happens in the future, I just care about what happened here today. I thought overall these lads are great. So look forward to next year with this group of lads. We've a young team. Whatever, if there is county going ahead, we'll deal with that then. I'll deal with that then. We'll see what happens.
It's hard luck today. It can't be easy chatting to us straight after a defeat like that. So thanks for coming and having a chat.
Cheers, Breffney. Thank you.
Riordan O'Rourke, your thoughts after that victory?
Look, you just glad to get over the line now. You know, we knew Leitrim Gaels be serious outfit, which they were now there today, and we were all just looking prepared. We were just looking forward to this game and just wanted to get over the line, which thankfully we did.
Conceding a goal just before half time in the manner you did, literally the last kick of the half, sometimes is a knock going into the half. How did you regroup in the second half? Because you came out all guns blazing.
Yeah, we just spoke to it. We scored 4 points in the trot just before that, and then they got that goal, so we just sort of said go out and try and push on again, just don't let it affect us, which I think we took it well enough in the end. But
in terms of the second half performance, there never really looked to be a loser, particularly when you got that goal. It just seemed to solidify everything. In terms of the team, it must be huge morale to see them hit the crossbar one end, you go up and almost instantly score on the other end, and it's a huge 6 point swing for you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we even missed a few goal chances there as well. We got lucky that we won it well in the end, but like the scoreline didn't reflect the game at all. Leitrim Gaels were strong throughout, and the scoreline definitely didn't reflect the game at all.
Obviously your name's now in the hat for the semi-final draw tomorrow evening. Any thoughts on who you'd like to get maybe, or who you'd like to avoid?
No, not really, to be honest. No, we were just looking towards Leitrim Gaels today, and we didn't look past it at all, and wherever we get we'll take from there.
It's been an interesting 12 months for the club, because at the end of last year you just about survived on the relegation playoff. Now you're one of the names that people are talking about possibly as challenging for this championship. You're in a semi-final, you've got the hard work done, and really it's a case of now see who you meet. What's the mood like in the camp over the last 12 months?
It's alright, yeah. We trained hard enough over the lockdown and individually in that, but we knew that the hard work would come in the championship, and out there today, and that was real. Even though there was nobody here, that was a real championship game, and just looking forward now the next 2 weeks, getting ready for whoever we get in the semi-final. How
aware are you of the circumstances? Nobody in the stands. Do you notice it? Is it a big deal?
I didn't really pass much heat of it now, to be honest. Towards the end, like it was a real do or die. But no, I wouldn't really notice that much, to be honest. No.
what's next for you now? You have 2 weeks to the semi-final. Take a bit of time and regroup, and then go at it again.
Now we'll probably meet up now Monday evening, train, and then Wednesday evening take it from there. We'll train hard on Wednesday and the weekend then, and look forward to whoever we get.
Listen, well done tonight.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Joe Flynn, it's quarter-final done and dusted, into the semis now. You must be happy with the afternoon's work.
Yeah, delighted with it. It was a tough battle. Leitrim Gaels threw a lot at us, and it wasn't really until the final quarter that we pulled away. Not sure actually what we were leading going into the final quarter. I know we were a point up. I think we were 2 points up going into the final quarter, and then just things started opening up. We started stretching Leitrim Gaels. They couldn't deal with the pace inside, and we just started converting our chances. So I'm just delighted to get into the semi-final.
It was a very competitive game for those opening 3 quarters, to be fair. And Leitrim Gaels, a bit of discipline in the first half cost them Liam Morton for 10 minutes. You didn't really capitalise on that. You got a point or two ahead, but then they snuck a goal at the very last kick of the first half.
Yeah, we were 4 points up, you say. Liam had gone off. I know David Brown was down for about 3 minutes of the 10, so he was managing the black card. So, but it was always going to be like that. We knew that they would come at us. Their big, strong physical side. They were going to compete with us in midfield, and they did that. They had runners coming from deep from the wing, and Evan Flynn, and they're causing us trouble. They're popping up with the odd score here and there to keep the pressure on, and we're just to go in. It was a bit of a sucker punch, but probably the half time came at the right time for us. We could regroup. In the start of the second half, then they had a golden opportunity to score a goal. They didn't put it away. I think they hit the crossbar, and we sort of never looked back from then.
Yeah, there was 2 goal chances really. Stephen Goldrick pulled a shot across the goal, and then Liam Morton hit the crossbar before he went down almost instantly and scored a goal at the other end. And it was they never quite recovered. They never quite got themselves back around that. But you just seemed to go from strength to strength. You just kept that scoreboard ticking over, and the penalty from in the injury time in the second half. What a finish! I know maybe the game was over, it was already decided, but to hit the top corner is a brave act for any forward.
Yeah. And in fairness to Benny Flynn, he'd pulled off maybe 3 or 4 fantastic saves before that. So he was keeping Leitrim Gaels in the game up to that point as well. They had. I think we suffered an injury to in our full back line, and it probably disrupted us a little bit. So they were getting in, but we still never panicked, and that's the sign of a good team. It's a sign of a young team maturing as well. So we're just happy with the way they responded to all the challenges that were thrown at them, and we're just looking forward now.
You mentioned the last time we spoke to you that your girlfriend was from Leitrim Village. Are you single yet?
No, I haven't talked to her yet. I'll see. I won't be getting breakfast out there in the morning anyway.
Congratulations today, Joe.
Thanks a million.
Now, they say that goals win games, and on Sunday that was certainly the case, as St Mary's scored a goal in the very first minute to set themselves up for victory in their clash with Melvin Gaels. After the game, I caught up with James and Gareth Phelan, while from the St Mary's side, their manager Denis Connerton and their fullback Conor Farrell spoke to me too. Denis Connerton, you got to be happy with that result.
Delighted, absolutely delighted to get to the last 4. As I said previously, at times this year it didn't look like we would make it, but we made it, and it was a fabulous team performance. I thought individually there was some big performances within it as well, but as a team I thought we did very well today, and I'm delighted to get into the semi-finals of the senior championship.
You got goals at the right times in psychology, at least, one at the start, one at the end of the first half. It just sets up the team talk for you at half time, really.
Yeah, and you don't plan that sort of stuff, it's great to get it when it happens for you. It was very quick thinking by Robbie Lowe at the quick free to get us the second goal. That was huge for us. The start, last year it took 29 minutes for these young men to get a score against Melvin Gaels, so the start to get a goal at the very beginning today was a huge tonic for us.
In terms of the game, obviously there's been a lot of talk about this being a replica of last year's quarter-final. The result very different from last year, maybe a heavy defeat last year for St Mary's. They're on the right side of it this year. What do you put that down to?
Well, they're working very hard. I wasn't involved, so I can't talk about what they did in the past, but Melvin Gaels is a really good team. They're some outstanding footballers, and we got that goal. I think the start was huge for us today. It was a massive tonic for to get, and we built on that start. But they came back into the game after the water break, and it was worrying for us coming up to half time. But for to get that second goal just before the half time whistle blew, that was big for us. And the goals win games, and the fact that we didn't concede a goal was important for us also.
discipline played a big game a big role in the game today, should I say. They had a couple of black cards, a red card as well. You managed to keep the full complement on the pitch. How important is it in games like this where they're tight battles, and it was a tight battle up until probably just that goal at half time, that to keep everybody available and on the same game plan?
Yeah, that's important for us, and our discipline was very good, by those young men. It's important that they keep their discipline, because your discipline will be checked out in an hour's club football in Leitrim, because it is a small county and everybody knows everybody else, so they're very familiar with each other from being in county panels, whether it's underage or whether it's a senior panel or under 20, whatever. So they're all very familiar with each other, so there's no massive surprises going to be struck at any place. Melvin Gaels were, they probably were a little bit frustrated because the game wasn't going the manner in which they probably expected it to go. They wouldn't have expected us to be leading by 4 points early on, and then for them to have to come back and to get level with us again, and take the lead. They were big moments for them, and they probably got a little bit fatigued in making that effort and that comeback. That probably tired them out a little bit. But mentally, the games are draining, emotionally they're draining, and physically they're draining. And probably some of those lads were a little bit frustrated at that stage when they got those cards.
In terms of, I suppose, the bigger picture, looking in at the championship, you've been on plenty of sidelines across different clubs over the years. There's no crowd here today, and so there's nobody really either to get there to support players, to maybe influence from the outside and lift the spirits of a team that's struggling, or to push on a team that's doing well. So the teams that get ahead tend to stay ahead in the games over the last few weekends. Do you see that as well, or are you does it even come into your thinking?
No, well, definitely it didn't happen for us, because we went ahead in games and we lost that lead, and we had to get last minute points to win it, and last minute goals as well. So it's just very strange. I find the lack of atmosphere has to be very strange for the players in particular. Honestly, as a manager, I don't mind, because I don't hear. I'll be so focused and so involved in the game, I don't hear anything, so it makes no difference to me. I must be completely and totally deaf when the game starts. So I don't mind that. But for the players, it has to be so strange. Which is great to be playing football this year, because at times, when you go back to April and May, I didn't think we would be playing football. So it's great to be playing football, and it's really fabulous to be in the last four of the championship.
Well, speaking of the last four, the very best luck in the draw in just a couple of hours' time here on the Leitrim GAA live broadcast. Whoever you get, the best luck in the last four in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks a million for that. Best of luck.
Conor Farrell, captain of Carrick, St Mary's. It's been an interesting year for you, but you're in the semi-final spot and all to play for in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, delighted with today. I think our game plan worked out well for us. We were probably in a bit of bother maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. People were talking around the county that could be us into a relegation final, but a lot of us stood up, especially the young boys as well, and we've kicked on from the O'Heslins game, the Ballinamore game, and today things went well for us. So yeah, delighted to be in the last four, but that's all we've done.
What is the changing point in the season? Because it's been an interesting couple of weeks. As you said, there was rumours about departures in the camp, there was rumours about discontent in the camp, but you really seem to put that to bed in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was really blown out of proportion to start with. I think we generally, this year there's been no league. Like, we generally start slow in the league, and that we didn't have those kind of to get into our rhythm. I suppose the first two games we kind of walked through them, I suppose, and Mohill gave us an absolute hide, and we sort of dropped tools, which was a learning period for us. And yeah, I think we've grown from that defeat, and boys have really stepped up. And once we got the win down on O'Heslins, we just that was the changing point. I say, we've just kicked on from there.
I think more so nearly than the actual win against O'Heslins and Ballinamore was the nature of it. You conceded really late in both games, injury time, and to come down the other end and stick the ball in the back of the net and pop over those 2 points that you needed in those two games. What's been the difference? What's been compared to the first two games that you played?
Well, I suppose the only thing is that if we lost in O'Heslins or Ballinamore, we were gone. That wasn't the case in Fenagh or Mohill, so our backs were really against the wall against both O'Heslins and Ballinamore. So I mean, it was do or die. So, and we grew from that massively. There's a lot of young boys in that team at the moment that are coming through, and they really stood up, and they've grown massively since that. So yeah, it's been all positive since then. So yeah, thank God we're to the last four.
In terms of being a competitive team, and over the last 3 games now after today, you can kind of say you're one of the teams that people are talking about as realistic contenders for this title. You're in a semi-final. There's any amount of teams waiting for you. Mohill are in there, Ballinamore and Manor Hamilton will be in there as well, and of course Fenagh last night. You've played nearly all of those teams already this season. Most of the teams coming from your side of the draw have actually progressed to the semi-finals. Does that tell its own tale about how competitive that side of the draw was?
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, Yeah, and the two games yesterday and the day before, I think there was a bit in them all right in the end. But I saw the Leitrim Gaels Fenagh game, and really I think the scoreline flattered the game itself. It was tied up until the last 15 minutes. So I don't know how much of a difference there was. Maybe, yeah. I mean, if Ballinamore go through this evening, then yeah, it obviously does tell its own story. But from the offset, I suppose they said our group was the group of dead, and I think, yeah, I mean, if Ballinamore go through, it kind of tells its own story, I suppose.
In terms of today's game, let's talk about that for a moment, because a pretty solid performance. Score a goal in the first minute of the game. It's always a nice start to get, but Melvin Gaels came back into it. A few discipline issues. How did you cope with having that extra player or two on the pitch at different stages?
Yeah, I think coming into it, we said from the offset just to keep it wide, keep the ball in hand, keep it moving. I mean, I don't think we really deviated from that for much of the game. It didn't matter how many on the field. Sometimes 14 men works in their advantage. But yeah, you could see it out there. There's a lot of indiscipline from Melvin Gaels, and I think, yeah, we probably profited from it in the last quarter, in the second half as well, when Midloin went off, and then obviously Mulligan went as well. So, and I think that the third guy got a black card in the last 5 minutes. So yeah, I mean, it made our lives a bit easier, I suppose, and yeah, I mean, that's just the way it's gone.
In terms of you as a group of players, what do you work on for the next 2 weeks ahead of whoever you get to play in the semi-final?
I mean, yeah, it's just going to be the same thing again. We've got a serious management team in place this year. I mean, it's just a matter of us showing up, getting our heads right, and preparing for the next 2 weeks as best as we can. And then I don't think it really matters who we get in the semi-final. It's not going to change how we prepare. And yeah, we're just going to get ready for it and give it our all when it comes.
Well, listen, Conor, well done today.
Cheers, Bart. Thanks.
James Phelan, your thoughts after that game?
We were beaten by the better team today. We probably just didn't bring the intensity that we needed to bring. You know, we didn't get up to the speed of the game early on. We got caught for a couple of goals. We just went to sleep at times. We put ourselves in a position just before the half and went a point up, but got caught again asleep for a goal. You know, and can't afford to do that in these games. You know, and that's it really.
Those two goals, one in the first minute, one in the last minute of the first half, pretty much told the story of the game. But the discipline was a bit of a problem for you as well. 2 black cards, a red as well thrown in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look back at the video of it. You know, I didn't think that maybe some of the black cards weren't the worst challenges I saw on the pitch today. You know, but listen, we've seemed to have pulled a few black cards this year. Maybe it's something that we have to look at. You know.
What's your thoughts going into, I suppose, an extended period now? Coronavirus is a bit uncertain in terms of the club and where you are. It's obviously the end of this season for you. What's your own thoughts?
Well, look, you know, I think in Leitrim we're doing good. You know, there's been good efforts as far as coronavirus is concerned. I'd love to see this championship played out. You know, hopefully, you know, it should be played out, and you know, it's important year. It's an important championship. Teams are going at it hell for leather, regardless of what's going on. So, you know, okay, the supporters aren't here, but you know, the streaming is doing great, and you know, yeah, look, it's important to push on and get this done.
In terms of the game today, I suppose you were on the other end of this kind of result last year. Comfortable victory in the end for the opposition. You were the winners against St Mary's at this stage last year. They've reversed the trend this year. What have you learned from this year's campaign? Because it has been a pretty good campaign for you in the middle between the first and the last games.
Look, there's always lessons to be learned, whether you're on the winning side or a losing side. I suppose the important thing for us as a group is that we need to find, you know, consistency. You know, out of the 5 games we've had this year, you know, we went out in the first game with a bit of a whimper, and I suppose got 3 real good performances, and then came here today and just didn't find that performance again. You know, so the consistency is something that we probably need to work on.
What's your own situation at the moment? Have you given any thought to that at all? I know it's very early after the game.
I haven't really thought about that, but sure, look, I'm a true blue, always have been. I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon, you know. I say we've often lost, but we're never beaten.
Well, listen, James, thanks very much for all your help during the season, and hard luck today.
Thank you, Breffney.
Gareth Phelan, obviously a disappointing day. What's your thoughts?
A disappointing day. Any day that you get beaten in a championship match is a disappointing day. What's our thoughts? Thoughts is we didn't give. You know, the most disappointing part is we didn't probably play to our potential. That's the most disappointing of all. You know, I think there's a lot more in us than that, but we didn't. For whatever reason, we can dissect it up, down, sideways and backwards, but we didn't give all of ourselves, and that's the most disappointing part.
They scored 2 goals at crucial periods in the first half, and it's always hard to come back when you concede a goal in the first minute or two, but especially as a goalkeeper, what's going through your mind when that happens? You've been in that situation, not necessarily conceding goals, but those kind of setbacks early in games. You've played enough different scenarios over the years.
conceding a goal so early in the game, it's not really much of a setback. Like look, you're down 3 points and that's the main thing, but it shouldn't determine the game either. There's a huge amount of football still to play, so I don't think that phased us too badly. Sure, we got back into the match, and in fact, didn't we go a point ahead? I think in the first half there. So, we kept calm heads when we conceded that goal. I was disappointed about how we conceded the second goal, because we switched off after we give the free, and we left 2 men inside our cover, and that's just a criminal offence, really. And we paid hard for that. And instead of going in at half time, a draw or maybe even a point up, which we could have, we went in 4 down. So that was a bit of a turning point, I thought, in the game. And that was our own. We were in charge of that ourselves. We were in control of that, and we let that one slip.
In terms of your own role in the team now, obviously you're playing in goals. You've been there for the best part of, I suppose, 2 decades at this stage, if not even a little bit longer. But how much of your role now on a match day is playing, and how much is kind of guiding those around you?
Yeah, I've been playing for 3 decades, for God's sake. What are you talking about 2 decades? It's only Cubs that play for 2 decades. The role is, obviously, the main role is minding the nets, but the secondary role is trying to marshal the defence. It's a very young defence. Take Fabian McMorrow out of it now, and it's a young defence. Look, a lot of those, but there's 3 or 4 of those guys that are only 18, 19 years old there. So they need a little bit of a heads up to get them up to the pace of Championship football, and that's one of the main roles as a keeper as well, to try my best to give them the heads up as quickly as possible. Do a wee bit of marshalling. Other than that, just try and keep my own body half right to play the match. That's it.
Well, listen, hard luck today, and best luck if we see you back in a jersey next year. Is that a likely scenario?
It's not likely. No, this is it. I can tell you with full certainty that this is it.
We had Martin McHugh after yesterday's game. He's 50, his 5th different decade.
When they should retire. At least I know when I should retire. McHugh wouldn't even know when to retire.
Hard luck today.
Cheers, Breffney. All the best.
Now, the final game of the weekend was a repeat of last year's county final between Ballinamore Sean O'Heslins and Glencarrick Manor Hamilton. Most neutrals expected to see Ballinamore exact revenge for that defeat on their northern rivals, but it wasn't to be. Despite a bright start for Ballinamore, it was Glencarrick Manor who came into the ascendancy throughout the 60 minutes, and even a late goal not enough to claw Ballinamore back into the match. It was unfortunately the end of the season for Ballinamore Sean O'Heslins. We spoke to their chairman, Michael Quinn, after the game, as well as Sean Boylan and Evan Sweeney from Glencarrick Manor. Sean Boylan, is that what you expected coming down the road this afternoon?
Look, it was always going to be a battle. I suppose we got a bad start again, 3 points down to no score, but it just shows the character of our lads. Like they're a phenomenal bunch of fellas, and dug in and got it back to level, and we kicked on, and I thought we were the best team on the day. Our work rate, our tackling was second to none, and I can't say enough about them.
In terms of the game coming in, Ballinamore were the hot favourites coming in, even though you came in as the defending champions. In terms of the game, as you said, you just kept that scoreboard ticking over. A very defensive setup. Was that intentional or something that just kind of happened out of necessity?
I suppose, look, we looked at a few things after the Melvin Gaels game, and I decided we'd probably need to tighten up at the back a wee bit, and we did that, and we upped our work rate an awful lot more, and I think you've seen it in the performance out there.
As an individual, you're well used to this level of championship action. You've been here as a player, you've been here behind the scenes as a selector before. First time in the manager's seat. How different is it compared to the other different forms of the semi-finals and this stage of the championship?
Look, it's, when you're involved with the club, I suppose, just organising fellas, I suppose, but an awful lot of credit has to go to the likes of Sean Doherty and Frosty there, and lads behind the scene driving lads on, and it's a whole collective. It's not a one man show, and never was and never will be, and we just have a great bunch together, and it's working for us.
So well done today.
Cheers, thanks for being briefly.
Thank you. I'll have to chase Dom Corrigan now. That's not going to be fun.
Oh.
Dom, can I get you for a moment, if you don't mind? If you don't want it, that's fine, but I just... Perfect. Evan Sweeney, your thoughts after that game?
Look, at Breffni, we were just delighted. We knew it was going to be a very tough battle coming up here. I suppose a Ballinamore team that's really up and coming, and they've shown how strong they are over the past couple of years. So we knew coming in here today we were going to be up against it, and we probably got a little bit of the rub of the green at times, but it was just a collective effort really. There was nothing fancy about it. It was just about team ethos and kind of teamwork really.
You were set up very defensively, but you just seemed to be in control from the start of that game. You never really looked like conceding.
Yeah, I suppose sometimes in games like this, teams often mirror themselves in the setup, so it's not like we planned to play like that. It's just the kind of situation that arose in front of us. But yeah, we just kind of played it as we seen it. A lot of us are playing, we're playing in these championship games for good few years, so we just kind of just play it as we see it really and just hope for the best. But in fairness to Ballinamore, we know they'll be back again. They're a strong side, so for now we're just happy for, I think it's 2 weeks' time, get into the semi. So.
In terms of the game today, I suppose you came here knowing you were going to be up against a tough challenge. You played them in the the final last year. It was a very different game to the final last year.
Yeah, it was probably the final last year was probably more open in the first half. There was more space inside. Space was at a premium inside there. They're defensively very strong. It was hard to get on ball, to be honest, in space in there, so it was probably a little bit different. The dynamic was different than last year in the final, but space, wee pockets started open in the first half, but happy enough with the way we managed the game there in the second half. So,
in terms of the attack, fairly low scoring at the same time, but you did take the scores when you needed them.
That's it, yeah. I suppose I don't know what the stats of it are, but I suppose our execution was good. Our shot selection was good. We weren't taking any crazy shots out in the wings, so yeah, happy enough with that.
In terms of where you go from here, obviously you're well used to the final stage of the championship, but I think most pundits would have had Ballinamore's favourites coming into today. You've 3 teams waiting for you in the semi-finals. Anyone in particular you'd like to play, or anyone in particular, more importantly, you'd like to avoid in the draw in a couple of minutes' time?
I seen some of the games yesterday, and in fairness, this year there's 10 teams in the senior championship. They're all of a good standard, and 2 games here yesterday, I seen bits of them. The standard was very good, so it's irrelevant really. If you start looking at who you're going to get or the permutations, usually it's going to come back to haunt you, so really we'll just see what happens.
Okay, well listen, well done today.
Thanks William Breffni, cheers.
Michael Quinn, Chairman of Sean O'Heslins in Ballinamore. What's your thoughts after that game?
No, we're very disappointed. We didn't play. We played for 10 minutes of the first half and collapsed after that, and we've no complaints. Manor deserved a win here today, but we're very disappointed in our performance.
It's been a lot of work put in Ballinamore over the last few years, and some really promising signs coming out of the club. It's still a very young team, and there's some really good young players coming through, plenty of lads in the county panel, and lots of bright hopes for the future. But I think most neutral punters probably would have expected to see that come through this year, and there's a bit of a disappointment maybe in the club and how that has panned out this year.
Yeah, definitely. We've put in a lot of work over the last year to get them up. Last year to get them to a county final for the first time in 21 years, and we hope to go one step further this year. But we seem to, midway through that group stage, seem to fall off a bit with a few injuries, and look, with them all back here today, but it didn't happen. So we're definitely disappointed.
Where did the club go to from here?
Well, we have to go again. We can't stop, and we won't stop. We will make another huge effort next year again. We've a young team, as you say, and we've county boys there, and look, we have to keep going. We can't just stop. We've gone too far to stop now, and we won't stop.
In terms of the personnel, obviously now the season's over, but 2021 brings its own new horizons, and there'll be some young lads coming through. Is there anyone coming through in that under-17 squad, maybe with McDermott at Gaels, that excites you and can add something to that squad that's there?
Yeah, there's 1 or 2. Look, at underage level we don't have a lot coming through in terms of numbers, but there are lots of young players, promising players there in the future. But look, it's going to take. There's a good team still there. Our team that's there are still, they're young, they're fairly fit, and we have to hope that they can, put this behind them again and go again next year. That's it.
Of course, it's not the end of football in the club this season. Your intermediate team, or your junior team as it is at the moment, are running very well in the Vistamed Junior A Football Championship. What's the hopes for that side now?
Well, we'd hope to go on and make a serious shot at it. There are some good teams in that. We're one of a few second teams in it. So look, we've an excellent chance, and we hope to go on and try and win our quarter final and go on.
Listen, hard luck today, and thanks for having a word with us.
Okay, no problem.
In the Smith Monumental's Intermediate Championship, Garth set the early pace with a big win over Auckland. Jack Heslin and Paul Maguire of Garth spoke to me after the game, while I caught up with Leitrim's 1994 championship winning goalkeeper Martin McHugh as he played 60 minutes for Auckland at the age of 50. Paul Maguire, fairly comprehensive victory in the end.
Yeah, look, at lads put in a big shift there. Lads stepped up to the plate today, and and as we said, people are talking about dying out of games, and we just showed today we didn't die out of games today.
Fairly comfortable lead at the break as well. So the second half, maybe a little bit of complacency set in. A couple of maybe chances that you would have preferred to see going between the uprights than maybe trailing to the left and wide.
Yeah, we missed a lot of chances today. We could have 2 or 3 goal chances, a couple of points there in the first half as well. And then look at it, probably in the start of the last, second last quarter and the last quarter there, we let Auckland and get 2 scores there, either side of them 2 quarters. So that's a bit complacent there on that end. But look, the lads reacted well, and we got back into it again.
In terms of the actual outcome of today, in terms of what you'll take away from today, how much do you learn from your team today? Because Auckland have been struggling all season, and it was fairly evident there was maybe a gulf between the two teams.
Yeah, well, we can take lots of it. We the way we moved today. We worked on a lot of things there. Probably the big thing we worked on is being complacent and not dying out of games. And I was pleased today. Look at Auckland are not a bad side. They're physical, and they came back there. They got two goals in the last quarter. So it wouldn't you wouldn't say Auckland are a bad squad.
In terms of the semi-final, now that you wait, you won't know who you play until maybe later in the weekend. In terms of that, I know Jack Heslin, for example, kind of will be disappointed in himself in the last 15-20 minutes with a goal chance missed, although it was a fantastic save. Martin McHugh was reeling back the years. But in terms of Jack's input, will he be looking to improve in terms of just that little bit of focus when you're well ahead in a game?
Look at all the lads will be looking to improve on their focus in a game. Jack probably wasn't the only one to miss scores, and lots of the lads made mistakes. Look, and that's things we can look back at now as well. So that's
well done today. Best luck in semi-final.
Cheers, Breffney. Thanks very much.
Jack Heslin, your thoughts after that?
Look, I suppose a win is a win. We're glad this is where we want to be. Getting to a semi-final, and look, it was a tough game. Scoreline mightn't reflect that, but geez, they gave as good as they got, and look, we're just happy to have a win.
Semi-final now, final to come, but today was a battle between two sides that came down from a senior last year. How much do you read in the difference between the sides on the scoreboard at the end of the game?
I wouldn't read into it at all. It's the look of the game. We had a good 15 minutes there after after half time. That was the winning of the game. But no, we just take it every game as it comes. We're not looking any further now than the next day, whoever we get, and that's just it. One game at a time.
In terms of your own performance, how did you feel you got on today?
Look, all right. I suppose we missed a few chances. We need to be more clinical the next day. Martin had a few good saves there, and. No, look, we're happy. We're happy to be a semi-final. That's where we want to be.
What did the club take out of today's game? Because I suppose sometimes when you win a game this easily, you mightn't necessarily learn as much as you might want to going into the final stages of the championship.
I know, as I said, the scoreline doesn't reflect that game there today. That was a tough game. Auckland are a good side. There's great players. Colin's there and a few of them lads. They're very good, and as I say, a win is a win. That's all we can for today, and we'll not read any more into it.
Obviously an open draw to be done tomorrow night. Anyone you want to avoid maybe?
No, we'll just take it as it comes. Whoever we get, that's it, and we'll just concentrate on that.
Listen, well done today.
Thanks very much.
Martin McHugh, reeling back the years, there was one fine save there at the very end.
I know it's all well and good making a save, but he got the rebound again, so I think 2 or 3 of the goals they got today were sort of half chances they had, and we just caught it flat-footed. But look, that's the way the game goes. Sometimes you make good saves, and sometimes the goals are going back to the net. But look, I'm done, I'm finished, so I can't do any more.
Now, we've heard that from you a few times before. This isn't your first retirement. What's the chance of seeing you in the O'Heslin colours, or Auckland colours, should I say, next season?
I know, we'll just let the body recover now. It's going to take another week for the recovery. But we had 3 games there, but 2 weeks ago in a week. You had a game on Saturday, the following Wednesday, the replay from Barnacoula, then Nestle game. So 3 games in a week. At the man 50 years old now. I don't think I'll have 3 games when I'm 20 years old. But look, I'll just let this year go by first and see what happens next year. But I think that the boots will be polished and I might sell them on eBay.
Well, you're the one that brought your age into it now, but seeing as we're talking about age and back in the days, it's 26 years since you won a Connacht Championship with Leitrim in 1994. How much are you enjoying being back playing football, even at this stage of your life? And I suppose you've had other issues in your life health-wise as well, and you've overcome that over the years. How much are you just enjoying being out playing?
Oh, I absolutely enjoy it. I think, thank God, now up to now, I've won all I can win, like, you know. And I think that when the lads asked me to start the year, can you come back? Because we don't have a goalkeeper. And I said, look, I can still do it. I might not be as fit, but I just really enjoy playing football. And like you said there, like I was sick in 2009, then it got me again in 2015. And I think it makes me really appreciate that watching cross this white line and tug out for your club is great. And look, whenever I do officially retire, I know I can look back at my career knowing that I gave it all. Since I think somebody mentioned some smart comment, I'm 5 decades playing football. So I started with Auckland with the senior team when I was 16 years old. So you work out the maths after that.
In terms of today, though, obviously a fairly heavy defeat on the scoreboard, but does that matter at this stage of your career?
No, for me, I was hoping to go with a bang, like, you know, but they got a good team, like, you know, and we were struggling for numbers at the start of the year. Then you have injuries, and top of that now you have 5-6 lads of your first team missing, like, you know, so you were going to struggle today. Galetta, like, were senior for the last couple of years and they got demoted, so I think they'll be there about for the final, but they'll have to worry about the next game first. But as for today, look, they ticked all the right boxes today. They moved the ball well. They got the scores when it counted, and they didn't panic anywhere through the whole game. Even though the last 15 minutes we got 2 goals, like, they still didn't panic. So it was a good game.
How important was it for Auckland this season just to secure that intermediate status and keep the club at that level for these young lads coming through?
Oh yeah, that was our main aim. Like, people were writing us off because we didn't have numbers. Like, I think it was just 19-20 players. Most training sessions you have 10, 11 lads, 12 lads a train, like, you know, even that's including your weekends. And with the pandemic that's on as well, it didn't really help either. Look, you know, they got left the same boat. But at the start here, we just wanted to stay up, and I think that's why they wanted me to come back. And I think the game against Esslin, the last game, you had Niall Murray tugged out and Brian McQueenie, and so did Derek Moran, just to have numbers because there's just so many injuries. And lucky enough now, the game against Esslin, the average age went from 20 up to maybe 30 when Niall and Adrian Cullen came on as well, like, you know, so.
In terms of the day that's in it, hard luck on the score, but congratulations just for being involved at this stage of your 50 years on the planet.
But look, like I said a few minutes ago, it's any day you can tug out and cross your white line and play for the parish is a great day. Like, you know, there's loads of lads like half my age that want to play football. And I think the fact is that when I was sick, you know, I didn't think we'd go back playing football. And we won the senior championship in Longford, and then we won the intermediate championship there when 2017, when I was 47 years old, like, you know, and still kicking. So look, I think when you do be sitting in a stand, you look back at your career, you know, you give it all. And, you know, like today, look, it's a bad day at the office, but it's still nice to tug out and play with these young lads that were probably still in their nappies when I started playing football.
Well done.
Thanks a million. Good job.
Now on Sunday in the Intermediate Championship quarter-final, it was a repeat of last year's match at this stage too for both Bornacoola and Anaduff, the local rivals who battled it out in Clune on Sunday. It wasn't to be for Bornacoola. 2 early goals cancelled out by just a string of points from Anaduff. A fantastic performance, particularly from Conor Reynolds, and also from the Anaduff goalkeeper through the game, was enough to ease Anaduff into that semi-final draw later in the day. A massive thank you has to be said to Bornacoola for contacting us here last week and asking us if we would live stream the event. It was the first time we'd done such a task and live streaming an event with commentary, and there was a couple of teething issues, but a few lessons learned. But overall, very, very happy, particularly with the commentary on the day. We had a few issues with the picture and the quality of the internet out in Clune, but all that aside, the commentary, myself and Pat Farrell on the mic, and it was great to catch up with Pat, also to hear his insight as a former player at both club and county level and as a current club chairman to give an insight into all of the things that are going on within the club at the moment. It was lovely to be able to bring that to the membership of Bornacoola, past and present, and even just the neighbours who are coming across the border from Anaduff as well. So thank you very much to all in Bornacoola for the invite. It was a pleasure to be able to bring that to the people who couldn't get to the game. Now, in terms of the actual action, let's hear from the participants themselves. I spoke to the Anaduff captain, Allen Gaels, and his manager, Carl Foley, as well as Seamus Mallon, manager of Bornacoola.
Seamus, I don't really even need to ask you how you feel because it's kind of written all over your face. How are the thoughts after that?
We're down. We had opportunities, I thought, to win the match. I know Anaduff put in a serious, we'll say, third quarter, and they ran at us and we struggled in places. Thought the full back line, I know Ray Cox, in fairness to him, played a great game, but we didn't give our full back line enough help out the field, and they went 4 up. The water break came at an ideal time for us, and I think Danny kicked a long range free to bring it back to 3, and then we had the water breaks suited us. We got back into the match. I think it was a 1-point game. I think we had 3 opportunities to draw level and we didn't take them, and when you don't take your opportunities, I suppose at this level in the championship, you don't deserve to win.
It really was just the width of the paint on the post that separated you maybe on 2 occasions.
Yeah. Look, Shane, my nephew, he's young. It's his first year. We forgive him. Damien Moran had a chance or 2. I suppose Danny, in fairness to him, has been kicking the ball really well all year. We're talking, I think it hit the crossbar and the post. And they're the fine margins, I suppose. It would have been great if we had drawn level just to see what would have happened. We had a bit of momentum in the 4th quarter. We just didn't put it on the scoreboard. I suppose if I'm reflecting on last year, it was a different type of day. We played first half reasonable. I think there was 3 points into half time, and Anaduff came out and they literally ran us off the pitch. We had no legs at all. So I think this year condition is better. We'd like to compliment the lads. They worked hard during the lockdown. So we have made progress, but not enough to beat Anaduff today, and I wish them good luck. I wish Carl good luck as well. He's doing a great job there. He's a big panel to deal with, and he has to try and blend the old with the young. Not always easy, and I'll say that with my manager's hat on. As a manager, it's very easy to get things wrong, Breffney. So, Carl, I wish you good luck. You're doing a good job. The last 2 years, I think the team that has beaten Anaduff have won the Intermediate Championship, so they're going to be in with a shout of winning it this year as well, I think.
Absolutely. Well, hard luck today, Seamus.
Thanks, Brett.
Good, because I know we spoke at the start of the season, and I know your goal for the year was just to survive, and you've done more than that. You finished 2nd in the group in a very respectable quarter-final against potential champions Anaduff here today, including.
Thanks, Brett.
Allen Gaels, that was one hell of a battle.
Yeah, that was a tough game there. Bornacoola, every year, any time we play them, they bring the best out in us, and fair play to them. They gave us a great game, and look, we're just delighted to get over the line.
Didn't look like it was going to be your day after about 15-20 minutes. They held a 6-point lead, 2 goals, 2 points they led, and didn't really look to be much in the tank for Anaduff, but you turned around big time in that middle third of the game.
Look, Bornacoola came rushing out of the blocks. They were, they might have got some of our lads on the hop, but I know our lads, we're training ferociously the last 3 years. Any team that plays us, they know what's in us somehow, so once we get going, I'm confident in the lads that we can do it.
In terms of that middle third of the game, you just took advantage. You turned that 6-point deficit into a 3-point lead, 9 points without reply, and you just kept that scoreboard ticking over. What do you put that down to?
It's just going back to the training, doing drills, not panicking under pressure, doing the simple things. There's 4 breaks in the game. There's 60 odd minutes in the game. There's loads of time. There's no need to panic. 1 score takes 2 scores to beat, and when the points are going over, it's hard to stop a team when they got the front foot down, and that's what we showed there.
It's always nice to get one over on the local rivals as well, but you're into a semi-final, and that's the next priority in 2 weeks' time. Anyone you'd be particularly looking to avoid maybe in that semi-final draw? No. 2 of the potential opponents already in the shape of Carrick and Gortlettra. Another game still to be played this afternoon.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter who we get. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to a dogfight between whoever it is. Skill will get you so far, but when you're getting to this latter stage of the championship, it's about guts, determination, and how our lads showed it there today.
You've been thereabouts this level in the championship in the last few years. Have you got what it takes to just bridge that gap and get to a final and win it now?
Absolutely. I've full confidence in the lads. It's just a matter of the lads believing in themselves, and look at whoever we get, we'll give it all, and that's all we can do.
Listen, well done today, Alan.
Thanks a million.
Carl Foley, we're here in an almost empty Clune. It's been empty for all day, really, apart from what was happening on the pitch. It's been an interesting game. Happy to come out of it on the right side?
Oh, definitely. We knew the battle we were going to be put up against today. They're a big, strong physical team, and they had improved so much this year compared to when we played them this time last year. I knew the physical threat they had, and they showed it inside the first 15 minutes. They were far the better team inside the first 15 minutes. It took us a long time to take a strong hold on the game, but I think the water breaks helped us. In certainly the first two water breaks helped us to regroup and reorganise and get things sorted out. It kind of helped them the last water break. They came back into it, and it was nervy, but it could have gone anyway. But I'm absolutely delighted to be contesting another semi-final.
We were doing live commentary of the game on the Bornacoola Facebook page, and one of the things that Pat Farrell mentioned in the commentary was it was quite strange to see two defensive changes so early in the game before half time. Not normally done, but it just seemed to nullify that threat that maybe the full forward line of Bornacoola had in the first 15-20 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I felt if I didn't make that change, it could have been a totally different outcome to the game. We made a lot of changes throughout the game and had to. It was all about trying to get a bit of physicality on the field and particularly around the middle of the field, winning breaks and trying to stop the amount of ball that was going inside in so early in the game. And that's why we made the change. It was tactical, it was purely based on physicality, and thankfully it worked.
In terms of the rest of the championship, I suppose you are where you kind of would have aimed to be. You were here last year at this stage, semi-final stage. You've been knocking around, whether it's with Anna Duff or in a previous life, Leitrim Gaels. You've been thereabouts this level for a few years now. What's going through the mind as you kind of get ready for the next 2 weeks, and what's in future?
Yeah, well, look, we've had the luxury of being here 2 years ago, semi-final last year. Obviously we want to go one better from 2018. It's tougher when you see Gartletra and Drumshanbo, and now the surprise package in Carrick Allen coming through the ranks. So it's going to be another battle, it's going to be another tough encounter, but we'll be ready for it. And we've got the likes of Jack Hughes coming in there this year has made a huge difference to this team, and young lads, subs are full of young lads there, and they bring training is vibrant, it's busy, it's good, it's competitive, and it's exactly what we want. And we're not going to do too much differently than what we have done in the last couple of years in terms of preparation, and it's all on the day, and it's all who wants it the most, because there's nothing between the four teams left.
Listen, well done today. It's always nice to get one over on your local rivals, and a bit of bragging rights down locally in Drummond maybe.
That, but no, the commiserations to Bornacoola. They were really good today.
And that, folks, is it for another week. Thank you to everybody who helped out over the weekend to help us get around to games. And the accreditation system over the weekend was excellent, I have to say. The county board, if you like it or loathe it, we're not taking sides. But the fact now that they've done it behind closed doors, there's professional security on the gate, so it's not your average volunteer. There's bouncers there to keep you out of the games, and it really is in your best interest. But the security has been excellent. There's been no issues with people coming in and creating problems, then explaining why somebody's in the ground. And full credit to Leitrim County Board. It might not have been the most popular decision, but once it was made, it's been really, really well implemented, and our players and our officials and everybody involved in the game, it feels like a safe environment in terms of the numbers that are in there. So kudos to everyone who's been involved in that from a county board point of view. I'd like to remind you that all of these interviews that we've had with all the people you've heard on the show today, you can get them a little bit ahead of the show by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Don't worry, it is completely free. We're not charging you for it, but you can see those people, and you can see the facial expressions that go into their answers as well. Sometimes with a bit of a smirk or a smile, you can tell maybe that the person isn't been quite 100% honest, but she'll let you read into that what you wish to out of our videos on the YouTube channel. All you've got to do is go to YouTube and type in Leitrim Daily, and you'll find all of the videos there over the last few weeks. The numbers have been going through the roof over the last couple of days, and over this weekend we had 4,000 people check out the videos over the week. So that's a huge vote of confidence in what we're doing, and we're delighted to be able to bring that to you as well. We are going to be working very closely with some of the other media around the games as we get closer and closer to the final stages, and as these games start to become thick and heavy over the next couple of weeks across the men's and women's championships. Of course, no senior and intermediate men's games next week. Those semi-finals in 2 weeks' time. There will be junior action, and there'll also be the ladies' senior semi-finals, and we'll be focusing on that big time on Friday on the show. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much for joining. It's been a bumper show today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will talk to you on Friday.